Hi again, Matt Groves here. Today I'm going to talk about executing NQL queries using an SDK and the scan consistency option. I'm going to be using the .NET SDK for this video, but if you use another platform, I think this video will still help you. Let me start in Couchbase console. I have the travel sample bucket installed, and this bucket has a number of indexes in it already. To use NQL, you need to have at least a primary index, but you'll probably want some secondary indexes for better performance. In this video, for instance, the NQL queries I'm running will be using this def type index. I'll switch back to Visual Studio here. I've got a simple console app. I'm going to create some very simple functionality. I want to connect to Couchbase, get a count of all the airports in the travel bucket, insert a new airport, and then get another count of all the airports in the bucket, and then exit. So let's start with the very simple default behavior of the NQL SDK. I'm going to run NotBounded example here, and that method is going to just use the query method, and we're going to execute this NQL query. So I want to select all the documents that are of type airport and display the counts of them to the console. Then I'm going to create a new document that has a type of airport. I'm going to write out the ID of that document and then insert that document into the bucket. And then I'm going to execute that same query again to get a count of all the airports in the bucket. So when I execute this, something happens that you might not expect. The count is the same both before and after the insert. Now why is this? It's not because the document didn't get created, because I could look up that document based on the ID, and there it is in my bucket. So that's not the reason. So what happened? The answer is in how I'm executing the NQL query through the SDK. When I execute the NQL query, there is a scan consistency option. And I'm not showing it here because I'm using the default behavior. And the default behavior in Couchbase is that it optimizes for speed. So the default scan consistency option is something called NotBounded. And NotBounded means that when a query is executed, it will grab all the documents in the index, even if there are new documents that haven't been indexed yet, such as in our example. So, to demonstrate this, I could, for instance, instead of doing the query right away, I could wait 5 seconds and then run the query. And if I do this, then the count will be correct after 5 seconds. That gives Couchbase enough time to index the new document. And 5 seconds is probably way more time than it needs. But please, don't do a thread.sleep. There's actually a much better way. I'm going to show you that next. So I'm going to collapse that, and I'm going to show you RequestPlus. Another scan consistency option is called RequestPlus. And RequestPlus means that Couchbase will wait for all documents to be indexed that have been created at the time of the query's execution but have not yet been indexed. This will likely make your query execution time slower, but it will ensure that any recently created documents will be included in the results. So I'll do the same query as before. This is mostly the same, except now I'm going to, on this line here, say scan consistency to RequestPlus. And I'll go ahead and run that at console. And I don't have to do a thread.sleep, and I can see that before and after the inserts, the count of airports has increased by 1. Finally, there is one more consistency option, and this is new to Couchbase Server 4.5, and it's called AtPlus or AtPlus. RequestPlus waits for all documents to get indexed. NotBounded doesn't wait for anything, so AtPlus is somewhere in the middle. It will wait for the document or documents that you specify to be indexed, and only those. This is sometimes known as a read your own write, or RYOW. In a system with a high number of writes, this can provide better performance than RequestPlus, while returning a more complete result set than NotBounded. It's a little more complex. So I have to now start by creating a mutation state object. And to do that, I say mutation state.from, and I pass in the document that I just inserted to that. And then, when I create my query, I have to say request.consistent with and that mutation state object that I created. Now, one important thing about AtPlus, and this might just be for .NET SDK, but you have to, in your bucket config, set enhanced durability to true. And this is how you do it here. In this example, it's just for the travel sample bucket. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and run this again. And you can see that the same sort of things happening. The correct number is being returned. And that's AtPlus. So with these scan consistency options, Couchbase gives you the flexibility to make trade-offs in performance, completeness, and complexity. Now the source code I used for this video is available on GitHub. Check out the description for the link, and thank you for watching.